Hello everyone and welcome back to Tea Time with Meg. I'm so happy you're here today. As always, grab your favorite cup of tea, coffee, hot chocolate, or whatever makes you feel cozy. Get comfortable and let's spend some time together. Even just a little bit of time. Today's episode is all about something that I don't think we appreciate nearly enough, and that's the tiny joys in life. Not the big milestones, not the once-in-a-lifetime vacations, not the huge celebrations. I'm talking about those little moments that sneak into an ordinary day and somehow make everything feel just a little brighter. Sometimes we get so busy chasing the next big thing that we forget happiness isn't always waiting for us in the future. Sometimes it's already here. Sometimes it's just hiding in the little things. I think we live in a world that encourages us to always look ahead, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that. Those could be the next big promotion, the next holiday, the next weekend, the next accomplishment. And while there's absolutely nothing wrong with having goals, I've learned that if we're always waiting for the next big moment, we could accidentally miss the beautiful little moments happening right now. Life is mostly ordinary days, and maybe that's okay. Maybe those ordinary days are where happiness actually lives. Find those little things, find those tiny joys, and make sure you grasp them and hold on to those happy moments. I thought I'd share some of my little favorite things that make me smile, make me happy. Fresh sheets. Who doesn't love a set of fresh sheets at night when you go to bed? There's almost nothing better than climbing into bed after you've washed your sheets. Everything smells clean, everything feels fresh. It's like your bed got a reset button. How amazing is that? Now, do we all wish we just had an automatic thing that made our bed for us so we didn't have to do it? We could just enjoy the pure moment of just climbing into that bed without having to worry about doing it? Absolutely. But there's something about resetting it yourself, too, that's magical and happy. Rain against the window. I don't know why, but rainy days make me feel absolutely peaceful. Especially if I'm inside with a blanket, a warm drink, and a good book. Now, if it's hot outside, you could forego the blanket and hot drink if you'd like. But, do what you need to do to be happy. I know rain isn't everyone's favorite weather, but for me, it's basically permission to slow down. Who needs to slow down their life? Raise your hand. How many of you just raised your hand? Because I did. The next thing for me would be walking into a bookstore. Even if you don't buy anything, I don't necessarily buy anything every time I go into a bookstore, but there's something magical about wandering around through shelves full of stories, full of history, full of love that is put into each one of those books. I love wondering which book is going to become someone's favorite, or maybe even my favorite. Libraries, same type of thing. Libraries feel peaceful in a way that's hard to explain. There's thousands of adventures all waiting on the shelves. And I think that's kind of beautiful. Same type of thing. Every book holds a little bit of love, a little bit of adventure or stories or history, whatever the book might be about. But it holds something special, and that's beautiful. Next would be the first cool day of autumn. You step outside one morning, the air feels different. Summer is saying goodbye, fall is saying hello. Suddenly, I'm ready for sweaters, soups, candles, and all cozy things. I think that no matter who you are, that first true fall day where it's crisp and cool all day from morning until night, you can wear your favorite sweater, sip on a warm drink to make your inner body warm and your soul happy. I think those things are all so peaceful to me, and that's the tiny joy in that. How about finding money that you forgot about? $5 in an old jacket, a quarter on the couch, and can make it the best day ever, because that quarter or that $5 or even that dollar can make a huge difference in your day. Hey, I can go buy a trinket, or hey, I can add that to the order for a coffee. It just makes you smile. It feels like your past self left you a tiny present, and that's amazing. When a pet chooses to stay with you, who here has a pet that that loves to sit with them, or maybe a pet that doesn't love to be cuddled as much, and they decide that day to cuddle up next to you. There's something so special about that. They chose to sit with you out of everyone. They picked you. They love you. They are showing you that compassion. And I think that that's so important because, when you have a pet, you have that pet because you love that pet and you know that you want to have that connection and love with that pet that, humans can't sometimes provide. There's something special about having a pet because that is the unconditional love. How about laughing so hard your stomach hurts? Those moments are unforgettable, and I know I've had plenty where I've busted out laughing so hard where my ribs and my stomach and my neck are so sore because I've laughed so hard, and those memories will never leave me. I know my cousin and I would giggle and laugh so hard when we were young, and even to this day we even get laughing like that sometimes. And we will cherish every one of those memories. Laughing with my mom, where you start to snort because you're laughing so hard and the only air that can get out is through your nose, and you're snorting and laughing and rolling on the ground just laughing because you hit that funny bone, and that funny bone lasts for a while. I think it's so much fun, and especially when you're laughing over something completely ridiculous. The dog snored really weird, and all of a sudden you are brought back into a different memory that you start talking about, and you're like, why did we end up here, and why are we laughing so hard at something that shouldn't be laughed at this hard? But when your days are long and your minds are tired, sometimes the littlest things can just make you laugh and laugh and laugh. How about finishing an amazing book? It's bittersweet. You're happy because the story was incredible, but also just a little sad now because it's over. It's almost like you miss the old characters like they're friends. And you know what, though? Even though it's ended, you can always reread it or re-listen to it, which is what I do. I read new books and I listen to new books, but I will always go back to my favorites. And I've mentioned those in the past, so I won't rehash those now. But I know we all have that book that we will pick up time and time again, or even a magazine or a comic book, whatever brings you happiness and you feel like you could go back to over and over and over because you feel like you know those characters so well that if you met them in real life, you would know just everything. You would be connected because of what you've read and what they've gone through. And connect them to yourself, too, because you might have experiences similar to them. Obviously, if it's magic, you can't really do magic in real life, as much as we would love to. You don't have a dragon to ride on. You don't have, certain things that characters go through, you obviously won't. But it's those tiny things, it's like that make a difference. Another one that I do all the time is looking up at the stars. Whenever life feels overwhelming, I like remembering just how enormous the universe is. It reminds me that there's still so much left to learn, and somehow that thought is comforting. Just last night, I was at my parents' at a bonfire, and we had some really good family friends over, and we stared at the stars for a long time, talking about the different, satellites and talking about the stars and the moon and waiting for the meteor showers to start coming along. They're going to be at their strongest at around this time. And, we all wish that we could stay up till that late and watch the meteor showers. But it was that connection. It was that tiny joy of watching the sky and looking up at the stars that made us all connected in that moment and just made us happy. Hearing the crackling fire, the rolling of the dog in the grass, hearing him let out happy little snorts. Each one of us taking a drink of something delicious, watching those stars. It was such a peaceful moment, and I think that was the best thing. Being with the people that I love and being able to have those connections with them just watching. And I've done it for years with them. Obviously my parents, we will watch the stars all the time, but the family that was hanging out with us, I have known them since I was really little, and it's always been such an honor to watch the stars with them and talk about astronomy. And that's something so special. And even though it's tiny in scale, it felt huge in my heart. My heart was bursting with happiness because there's nothing more special than spending time with them and getting to do the thing that we've always done and know that everything is okay. Days can be tough, and years can be tough, and months can be tough, and minutes can be tough, even down to the seconds. Having those just little bit of time can make a huge difference. And it was amazing. And I will never, ever forget that. Not from the time I was little, not till now, and not until the day I die. But that happiness was amazing. I will digress on that, but it's the tiny things. And it's the thought that is comforting too. Maybe your little joys are completely different. Maybe yours are the smell of fresh coffee, your favorite hoodie, a campfire, watching birds outside the windows, freshly baked cookies, the sound of thunder, the sound of rain, lighting a candle, finding the perfect parking spot, hearing your favorite song unexpectedly that makes you do a little dance, watching snow fall, a warm towel straight from the dryer. There's nothing better than getting out of a shower and having that warm towel to wrap around you. Getting a text from someone you haven't talked to in a while. That's always a great time. Watching a sunrise, watching a sunset, holding a warm mug at both hands, because what's not special about that? The smell of old books. I don't know if you've never done it. Stick your face in an old book or any book and take a deep breath in. There's something so special about the smell of a book, whether it's old or new. Even if it's a little musty smelling, sometimes a musty smelling book is awesome because that means it's been really, really loved. And there's something special about that. The first sip of tea, there is no wrong answer here. But what I love about tiny joys is they're personal and they're yours. Make every tiny joy yours. Don't make others yours. Now, if you have similar joys that someone else does or you have the same exact ones, that's okay because it's still going to be different because it is your tiny joy. They might be the same thing, but you might do them a little bit differently than that person. And if you do them the same, awesome. There's nothing wrong with that. But make sure you are making them your own. Here's something I've started thinking about lately. What if we treated tiny joys like a collection? Instead of only remembering the stressful parts of our day, what if we start collecting the little moments that made us smile? Maybe it's writing one down every evening. Maybe it's taking a photo. Maybe it's telling a friend about it. Maybe it's simply noticing it. I think we'd all realize our days contain more happiness than we give them credit for. I know not everybody can take a picture or tell a friend about it or write it down. But like I said, by simply noticing it, you're giving it that memory. You're giving it that collection, if you want to call it that. Or a snapshot, if you want to say it that way too. But just contain those happy memories, happy joys. It might not be anything big, like I've mentioned several times, but that's okay. Do what you can. And no matter what, those tiny joys are always going to be special to you. They're always going to be special because you are the one creating that happiness, and you are the one that is collecting that happiness and that tiny joy as something that you'll remember from time and time again. And I think no matter who you are, no matter how small the tiny joy is, you will always have a collection box of things. And you might not even remember those at the moment, but maybe a smell brings something back up. Or maybe you open a book and a word triggers that tiny joy in your head. It doesn't mean you have to live it every day, every moment, every hour of every day, of every month, of every year. Having those tiny joys and knowing that you got to experience that is amazing. And I think that no matter who you are, I think we all strive for that. Now, in closing, being a shorter episode, before we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with this one thought. Life isn't only about made up of miles. Life isn't only made up of milestones. It's made up of a weekday afternoon or a weekend afternoon. Random conversations, warm drinks, favorite songs, beautiful sunsets, cozy blankets, books that made you lose track of time. You pick up the book, and 4 hours later, you look up and realize it's dark, and you've turned a light on without even realizing it. Those unexpected laughters, those tiny joys. Maybe happiness isn't something we find once. Maybe it's something we practice noticing. So this week, I have a little challenge for you. See if you could find 5 tiny joys. Write them down, or take a picture, maybe tell someone about them, or simply pause for a moment and appreciate them. I'd absolutely love to hear what your tiny joys are. Pick 1, pick 5. It's up to you, because I have a feeling everyone's list would be wonderfully different. And maybe it's a little the same too. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, and I'm proud of each and every one of you for taking on this challenge. Obviously, if you choose not to, that's okay too. But I hope you do, because everybody deserves happiness and tiny joys in their life. Thank you for spending part of your day with me, and I hope wherever you are, I can talk, I promise, you find something small that makes you smile today. Until next time, keep the kettle warm and your heart cozy.